Hello everyone, welcome to Conversations with Arzu, the Vitality and More podcast. It's always a pleasure to share this space with you all. I'm the founder of Vitality and More and author of Follow Your Heart. This podcast is about connecting real conversations around wholeness and wellness. I share my wisdom around topics that will inspire you to make an inward journey, be curious, follow your heart to purposeful living, and find abundance within. My purpose is to create healthy, practical, and authentic conversations here so that you too can make an inward journey and fill your cup with things that, well, don't always get spoken about. Before we dive into this week's episode, though, I really must thank you all for sticking around. The last couple of months have been filled with lots of shifts, retreat work, and more, which has meant that the podcast was on the back burner. So I'm grateful that you're all here, and I know you're really going to enjoy this episode. Episode 20 is huge. Today, we are diving into a topic that affects so many people, whether you're a uni student, a professional, or anyone pushing for personal growth. I'm sure you've heard about this thing called Imposter Syndrome. And if you have not, that's also quite okay. I hope you enjoy what I'm about to share. If you've ever felt like a bit of a fraud, doubting yourself, questioning your achievements, thinking that you're going to be found out, you are not alone. Grab yourself something warm or cool to drink, get comfortable, and let's unpack this thing called imposter syndrome together. I can certainly tell you one thing. I've deeply felt it on my journey when my book was published a few years ago, and even to this day with my work. First up, what is imposter syndrome? Well, it's that persistent feeling that you're not as capable or competent as other people think you are, even when there's plenty of evidence to the contrary. You might play down your success to luck, timing, or just being in the right place at the right time, rather than your own genuine skills, ability, and accomplishments. Imposter syndrome isn't a diagnosable mental illness, guys, but it's a recognized phenomenon. It can strike anyone. Like I said before, students, tradies, artists, CEOs, writers, performers, you name it. In fact, some studies suggest that up to 70% people will experience it at some point during their lives. It's especially common when you're stepping into something new, like a new job, a new project, or even moving to a new city or town. I feel like most of us have struggled with this one way or another, or you may know someone that has. I know I have. When my first book, Follow Your Heart, was published a few years ago now, I thought to myself, who am I? I'm no author. I just like to write. I can't possibly publish a book and expect people to buy it and read it. I had all the excuses and resistance playing over and over in my head. I had to dig really deep to release this feeling. Some days it was paralyzing. Whilst I felt like, on one hand, I wanted to jump on all the rooftops and shout out to the whole world about my book. On the other hand, I also wanted to find a cave and just hide in there, fearing what people would think. What would they say? It was not fun, let me tell you. And now I know why, because of this thing called imposter syndrome. So let's talk about what it actually feels like. It might show up as anxiety before a big meeting, staying back late at work to double check everything, or downplaying your achievements when someone compliments you. Maybe you're thinking, who am I to be here? Or any minute now, they'll realize I don't know what I'm doing. But for some, it's the fear of making mistakes or being judged. For others, it's a constant need to prove yourself, even after repeated success. The common thread? A nagging sense that you don't truly belong. And well, perhaps you're an imposter, as the name suggests. Imposter syndrome does not discriminate, my friends. It hits high achievers, creatives, newcomers, and even seasoned pros. Interestingly, people who care deeply about their work, who set high standards for themselves, and who want to do things right are often the most vulnerable, hence why I can relate. And sometimes culture can play a role too. We've got that laid-back vibe and that tall poppy syndrome. Sometimes we're reluctant to stand out or accept praise. That can add to the feeling that we're undeserving or, well, just lucky. So you may be wondering why imposter syndrome happens. How can someone so successful not see themselves as that? There's no single cause, but a few things can contribute. Upbringing is one. Maybe you grew up in a family that valued achievement, or you were compared to siblings or peers. This then creates limiting beliefs about who you think you are. Social conditioning, cultural expectations, and stereotypes can also play a part, especially if you're in a minority or underrepresented group. Transitions like starting a new job, going to university, or moving overseas often also trigger those feelings. And yes, social media doesn't help either, with all those highlight reels making it seem like everyone else has it all together, getting all the views, but you seem to look or feel invisible. Sadly, the effects can be pretty rough, and I know it can lead to anxiety, burnout, and missed opportunities because you're too scared to step up or take the risks and too afraid to show up and stand in your power and in your truth and accept how amazing you really are. You might avoid putting your hand up for a new role, or you might overwork to cover up your supposed shortcomings. It can also mess with your relationships as you struggle to accept support or praise. Over time, it can really knock your confidence and hold you back from reaching your true potential. And then sometimes it's just too late to get out of your head. Like everything I share here, I want to change the narrative and help you see things through a different lens. So let's talk about solutions to help us deal better with this thing called imposter syndrome. The first step, as always with my work, is awareness, recognizing those imposter thoughts when they pop up. Name them for what they are, just thoughts, not facts, and certainly not the truth. Talk about it. Chances are your friends, colleagues, or mentors have probably felt the same way. Opening up can be a real game changer. Speak your truth. Don't be afraid to share how you're feeling about being an imposter. Keep a wins journal. This one's important. Write down all your achievements, no matter how big or small they are, so that when doubt creeps in, you can look back in this journal and see all the things that you have accomplished. This will reassure yourself that you are no imposter. Challenge negative self-talk. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm a fraud, ask yourself, what's the evidence? Often you'll find plenty to prove you're capable and, well, not a fraud at all. And I really don't like using this word, but for the purposes of this conversation today, as you can see, I'm using it. And accept compliments. Instead of brushing off praise, simply say thank you. Let it sink in. Allow it to settle in and feel good, because let's face it, compliments do feel good when they are received with love and good energy. And that's a big one for me. I have always been the giver of compliments. And when compliments were received, I would always brush them down and I would, change the conversation to say, yes, you're amazing too. And you are, a high achiever, and play down my own success. But I've now learned that I can accept the compliment and I can sit there and say, look, I deserve that compliment. Thank you so very much. So set realistic standards. That's another way of dealing with it. Perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. We were never designed to be perfect. This is not realistic. And if you haven't, I urge you to go back and listen to episode 1 on this very same topic. Mistakes are part of learning, expansion, healing, and growth. Remember, you are not alone. Even the most successful people, think about scientists, athletes, artists, writers, they've all experienced this thing called imposter syndrome. If imposter feelings are really getting in the way of your daily life, work, or well-being, it may be worth chatting with a professional like a life coach or mentor. There's no shame in reaching out, and they can help you develop tools to cope and gain clarity and remove these thoughts that you're not good enough and that perhaps you're a fraud. As I've spoken about here before, real transformation always begins from the inside out. The more we connect with our hearts and do the inner work, the more we can see how amazing we are, all that we've done and achieved. It's about breaking away from these labels, these stories, these narratives and belief systems that keep holding us back. So I invite you to lean into loving all your creations, loving all your abilities, loving all your achievements, loving your flaws, your mistakes. It's all part of the journey, my friends. Be kind, compassionate, and loving to yourself, and remove that seed of doubt, that feeling of maybe you're an imposter. Just return to your heart with trust and gratitude and focus on how far you have come. Now, before we wrap up, remember this: you are not an imposter. You're a work in progress. You are the creator. You are amazing, just like everyone else. Celebrate your wins, learn from your setbacks, and keep showing up. You've earned your place, and the world needs exactly what you have to offer. That's a wrap for today. Please leave me a comment, rate, or subscribe to the show, and let's keep the conversation growing. You know that every star rating or download will help someone else find my show and tune in. And for that, I thank you deeply from my heart. And remember, you can always send me an email or leave a note sharing your imposter story. I'd really love to hear how it has impacted your career, your life, and how you overcame it. So thanks for tuning in today. Continue to work on yourself and fill your journal with all those wins. Keep sharing your work, your light, so that others can shine too. It's the only way forward. When we see ourselves and accept ourselves fully, we are sending this message out to the universe. Stop doubting and start believing and resonating with the energy that you are incredible. Share this magnetic energy because you were not born to be perfect, just real, and you are not an imposter. Until next time, my sweet friends, sending you loads of love.